My name is Lionel Davis, and I support Cure Racism South Africa. Yeah, I believe that as South Africans, we are all victims of both colonial and apartheid rule. I grew up in District 6, and as a child, we had this very mixed community. And of course, there was interracial marriage, romances blooming across color lines, but yet, regardless of us living together, there was constant tension on the issues of color, on the issues of race, even in District 6. Because whites were seen as superior to everybody else. Then you have coloreds and Indians who were seen superior to blacks. And this is the mindset of people then, and to a large extent, it's still the mindset of people today. So on Robben Island was just an extension of apartheid segregatory rules. So on the island there were no white prisoners, they had their own prisons. But on Robben Island we were political prisoners from very different walks of life, from different cultures, different language groupings, from very different political persuasions. And most of us had never ever lived together before. So even there, in the beginning, there was this tension of both political and color prejudices that played itself out. But the one thing that we realized very soon on Robben Island is that if we did not live together in harmony, if we did not learn to respect other people's political beliefs and other people's culture, we were in for a very hard time. Because the objective of the apartheid regime was to actually destroy us in that jail. So for us, it was imperative to learn to agree to disagree politically, but we could not afford to become enemies. Secondly, the mistake that the apartheid government made, whereas in civil society, we were separated according to race, and even according to cultures. On Robben Island, we were all thrown together in the same cells. And that is where we actually learned to live together as South Africans. Because on Robben Island, there was discrimination in food and clothing, in that Asiatics and coloreds got slightly better clothing than those classified as black. Asiatics and coloreds got slightly better food than their comrades. So we had to, one, learn to share our food as equals. Secondly, in a cell, in a big cell, and there were 16 big cells, we were Muslims, Christians, Hindus, we were atheists, we were people from the Jewish faith, people with their own African spiritual beliefs. We had to learn to respect those differences. So that when a Muslim man makes his prayers, his salah, there would be silence. Come Sundays and the Christian priest comes, everybody goes out to listen to that man of God talking about things that may be important to our lives. We started educating ourselves without permission. People who had never ever touched a book could neither read nor write, learned to read and write with the help of people from very different political persuasions, people from very different cultures. These were your teachers. Because in jail we had medical doctors, political prisoners, we had lawyers, we had university lecturers, we had high school teachers, primary school teachers, graduates, and they started teaching without permission. Guys soon were able to write their own letters home, read their own letters. And those who were allowed to study under very onerous conditions, some of them came there with elementary school education, high school education, and left Robben Island with university degrees. We learned to stand together because our salvation was in unity of action. 1966, we stood together as one. For 6 days we just drank water, a mixture of seawater and fresh water. There was no fresh water in my time. But for 6 days we refused to eat prison food. And we drew up a petition, and one of our demands was the right to education. And this was eventually granted under the stringent conditions. So things started changing gradually. Robben Island was our university, not only of book learning, but learning from each other, learning to respect each other, standing together as one against a common enemy. And I believe that because of that experience, many of us became better South Africans. Some, like Mandela and a few others, I believe became better human beings. When Mandela came to jail, he was a military man, a man of violence who believed in violence. But when he left jail, he called on the South African people to break down those barriers that had existed for hundreds of years, that we cannot build a new South Africa with bitterness and hatred, that we should learn to reconcile our differences. Unfortunately, Mandela did only one term. If he had remained, perhaps for another term, we could have strongly implemented the breakdown of racial barriers. We still live in a society where racism sticks out its head all the time. Yes, things have changed, but the minds of our people are still enslaved. We still think in terms of them and us. We need to change. But in order to change, you must change yourself. You must be the change that you want to see in other people. And it's a message that does not only apply to South Africa. It's a message that must spread out into the world. Because in the name of God, we do the most horrendous things to mankind, to humankind. Whether you are Christian, Muslim, Hindu, we bomb, we enslave, we starve, we exploit, we kill in the name of God. We need to change the world, but we start by changing ourselves. Well, I just believe that each South African persons who were schooled in South Africa, we went to these very separate, segregated schools. You could not teach freely. You had a curriculum that said what you should be teaching, how you should be teaching. We lived in divided communities, and we grew up with the attitude that some people were better than others. Whites were told that they were superior to other people. Coloreds and Indians were told that they're superior to other black people. This is how we grew up. There was even racism in sports. Every facet of our life, whether it was work, whether it was play, was determined by the apartheid mindset. I abhor racism, and I just think it is high time that we destroyed it. And today we have this opportunity. We are all enslaved, still enslaved, but we have this opportunity to look at ourselves and to face those questions of identity. Humankind, we are all related. So we are all victims. All over the world, we are victims of what others wanted us to believe. Because once they put you into that white box, that colored box, mulatto box, whatever box they put you in, you start believing that you are inferior or superior to other people. And this is the enslavement of the mind that we need to get rid of. Now is the best time to engage with that. And this is how we will heal South Africans. This is how we will heal the world.